When it comes to feedback, right? I film all the workouts like raw so that the players actually get more invested, and then they go in and they get feedback. They learn through observation, right? They watch all the videos, and I don't want to risk cutting out anything that might give them that might give them more feedback that they find valuable. Maybe I don't find it as valuable, but something clicks for them, and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like, learning is about feedback. The challenge point, I don't know if you've heard of the challenge point framework. Maybe Saram has talked about it in his book, or Rob Gray. I first learned about it from Rob Gray a couple of years ago when I was getting more into the science of motor learning. And then I did some research on my kind of did my own digging, and there's a Wikipedia page that just says challenge point. It's all about the challenge point framework. And so all it is it describes the different ways that you can manipulate the challenge of a task. So there's like this concept, I can't remember the exact terms, but there's like nominal difficulty, which is in a vacuum, how difficult is the task? Meaning, for example, shooting a shot from 25 feet away from the rim is going to be more difficult than more nominally difficult than shooting a shot from 15 feet away from the rim. And then there's a different term that I'm forgetting, not nominal difficulty, but there's some other term that describes difficulty based on conditions, right? So I can take a 25-foot three and change the external conditions. In one situation, the person shooting a 25-foot three, another one, they're also shooting a 25-foot three, but with a defender, right? So the nominal difficulty is the same, but we're changing a different part of a different aspect of the difficulty of the task, if that makes sense. So fundamentally, learning is about information. Like, without information, what's the point? Our brains have the ability to actually interpret the information that we're getting from the training, but at the end of the day, without it, there's no improvement that happens. We don't get feedback about what went well, what didn't go well, and how to progress from there. So once you establish that, then everything kind of figures itself. All the practice design kind of figures itself out. It's like, does it by the player's body language, does it look like they're getting it? Does it look like shit is clicking for them? It doesn't have to happen after one rep. That's not the point. Because you remember, we designed the thing that makes us different from maybe other trainers around here is that we put players in environments that force implicit learning more than explicit learning most of the time.
For sure.
And so the point is that this learning process transiently is going to be a little slower, but the point is it's going to stick long term.
It actually
what we're really after. And so, I mean, I don't know if you have any insights off of that, but once you establish that, everything just becomes more. All the practice design just becomes more clear.
No, for sure. I mean, even in the book, just talking about like not doing the same thing over and over again. I always think about lifting because everyone understands lifting. You do 10 push-ups a day for 3 months straight. Day 61, 62, 63, like, it's gonna be fucking easy. All right, I can do 10 push-ups. It's like, okay, now what? Different variation, more reps. You know what I mean? So it's like everything works the same. Like it's all interconnected. It all works the same. So it's like, I don't know, when people are doing the same shit over and over again, routines. So okay, now I've been doing it for 3 weeks. I'm comfortable. And it's like he talks a lot about, like, I just remember going to a practice and being like, fuck, this practice is gonna be boring as shit. I know what we're gonna do. I could have the kids come to my house and I could do the practice like 15. So just come over. We'll do whatever we're doing. Like we already know the practice plan. It never changed. It always had to stay on task. And that's another thing. Like, oh my god, so many times I'll be in the middle of a session, scratch it, or like I'll be like, okay, that didn't work. It happened the other day. I was like, oh, never mind, we can't do this. I'm like, it just doesn't work. It's not what I want. And the kids, like, if they've trained with you for a while, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? Newer kids, it's hard, for sure.
Because it throws them off. Like didn't we had a plan? Like, we had a plan. Why don't you keep? It just.
They're kind of like, do you know what you're doing? It's like, that's exactly why I'm switching.
Exactly.
I know, but they don't understand. So you always try to keep it like the same. Try to stay on task. Maybe manipulate it a little bit, but there are times where I've been completely scratched the drill. Like I've had to just completely scratch what we're doing. And they're just like, oh shit. And then I'll explain why if they want to know, but they know that it's for a good reason. So to like connect.
And then you just gotta not be. What I want to know is, when do you feel like you're stopping the shit?
Oh yeah. Either when I'm not getting like the focus, the result of the focus that I wanted, like saying the touch the ball for contact, whether it's like I can see that they're not getting into what I need them to get into, or when if it's not clicking, you know what I mean? If it's not clicking for them and they're not registering what we're doing properly, and they're like you said, like how they're holding themselves. If they get down and they're getting pissed off, I'm gonna try to manipulate it differently. Mm-hmm. Not so they can like succeed more as far as like maybe the shots going in more, but for them to feel like they're getting more success. You know what I mean? So it's like, because not every kid that I train has to see the ball go in for them to feel like they're doing it right or to feel good about it. Like I have a lot of kids that just understand like getting better. So if they feel like they're doing it right and it's working, even though they're missing, like that's what we want, because then they're just going to keep doing it.
Right. So you mentioned like in the beginning, you know, if I don't feel like they're getting what I intended to happen. Yeah. Rob Gray has made a good point before. I can't remember. I think it was in one of his episodes. I mean, he frequently talks about constraints-led approach, whether he puts it in the title of the podcast episode or not. Yeah. It's just too integral. Yeah. But he, like when he was kind of like in his earlier episodes when he was explaining what constraints-led approach is, he mentioned how or it was in one of his ecological dynamics principles, videos, whatever, one or the other. He was explaining how you actually like at least the way he applies constraints when he's worked in baseball. I'm pretty sure he worked for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think he did,
and he might still be in the MLB.
I think he is. I think he's still.
Yeah, but when he applies it, he doesn't necessarily have an intention about or an expectation about what they will do. Okay. He has an because you got to think about what a constraint is fundamentally. A constraint is something that specifies the affordance landscape or the solution space, right? It does not necessarily now. If you were to look up the dictionary definition of what a constraint is, it's something that restricts, right? And so inherently from that definition, we understand it's more about getting rid of certain solutions that won't work, rather than having an expectation that they're going to do something, or expecting or kind of saying, if you don't do exactly this, then it's then you basically screw it up, you messed up.
All right, so I guess I scratch it more if they're doing something that like I don't want them to do. You know what I mean? Like if it's completely off target. Like if it's just not what I intended on them doing. Like I'm not looking for a specific solution, obviously, but I'm looking for like whether it's touch floaters, like working on floaters. If they're trying to get to the rim every time and create contact, then what I gave them as a rule, their constraint, just didn't work. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like it's not like, oh, maybe they get to the rim a couple times and it's like, okay, that was there. That's what they were supposed to do. Yeah. But most of the reps should be kind of somewhat guided into what we're looking for. Yeah. So I'm not like, oh shit, that didn't work. Let's scratch it because it's not exactly what I wanted. But it was a floater. Maybe they went off the backboard. It was a runner and they weren't squared up and they just threw it up. Like that's fine. But if they're mostly getting downhill to the rim, finishing at the rim versus like doing the floater, then I'll like somewhat switch it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but that makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That stuck with me when Rob was talking about that because initially when I started applying constraints, I'm like, how can I like get one, I'm just looking for one outcome when I'm one very specific outcome when I'm applying these constraints. And that's not exactly the point. Yeah. Like because then we know that individual constraints are at play, right? Yeah. So certain players with certain individual constraints are going to have a much lesser propensity to getting the one specific outcome that you had in mind before, because they just don't solve the problem it's not as effective for them. Yeah. Whereas but I really like what you said about how the other day where you were saying if the defender even touches the ball, it doesn't have to be a steal. If they just touch the ball, then they get a point, or the offense automatically is a turnover. I like that, and it's actually not. It doesn't break what Rob was talking about with regard to constraints. It doesn't break it. Because there are still multiple solutions or strategies you can use to use your body as a shield. Maybe
you don't have to create contact.
Exactly.
You can put them on your back and just spin off.
Right.
Change directions, get it away. You can get it off with one quick, extend it out.
Exactly.
So I didn't change that.
Yeah.
That stuck because I was like, okay, there are multiple solutions. I know they're not going to create contact on everyone. It wouldn't make sense. Because they might just not have that. Or like the size matchups. There's a kid there that was like bigger. He weighed a little bit more. And then we had a kid that was kind of small and skinnier. So it's like, okay, I know he's not going to try to body him. He might try to come up with different solutions so he doesn't touch the ball. Be quicker, get away, extend. Because he's a slower kid. So it's like I knew it wasn't going to always force like contact. But that was like was the result most of the time.
Yeah. So I don't want to go off on too much. I mean, this is going to be, we're going down another rabbit hole right now, I feel like. But a model that has transformed the way that I coach is the 4 coactive model. So basically, like, there are like a million. We always talk about it. There are a million different things that affect performance, right? And we can get overwhelmed by the number of things that we have to account for that can impact performance. Like, dude, at the most, like, just like basic level, bro. Like, if, for example, a player is, I had a bunch of players that I was working with this summer that went off to college. And there's a lot to adjust to with college. I mean, you have to be sensitive to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Socially, whatever, whatever
everything.
It is, emotionally, everything, right? And if players are not adjusting as well, like if they're not doing well emotionally or socially because of the difficulty adjusting or acclimating to that new environment, like that's the rate limiter automatically to their progress as a player.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I use this so the 4 coactives are technical coactive, tactical. I'm going to explain each one kind of briefly and focus on the technical and the tactical because we're kind of mostly technical because we were just discussing designing drills specifically for that. But technical, tactical, so that's strategy, IQ, whatever. Psychological, and physical. Physical meaning physical could be nutrition could fall under that bucket. Nutrition could also fall. Nutrition covers a bunch of. Nutrition mainly covers the psychological and the physical coactives. Because it influences our psychology and how physically prepped we are to compete in the sport.
Sense.
So by creating these by having this coactive model, it makes everything. It makes your process as a coach way more organized. You're like, okay, this person is lacking most in, or maybe everybody can improve in every single coactive, but what's the low hanging fruit? And so like I have, for example, I showed you the kid Michael on YouTube. He's in his freshman year of high school at Newton South. Tall kid, skinnier build right now. Like he's gonna fill out with time. But we were just working on slashing yesterday. And what I realized is, okay, his low hanging fruit is the slashing in general, but then what are the very specific rate limiters within the slashing that are holding him back the most? And I found he actually, when you watch the most elite ball handlers get into the rim, their bodies for the most part, unless they're briefly shielding with their body, once they're actually running close to full speed or at full speed, their bodies are squared to the rim. While the ball's hanging in the pocket, and they've got their off arm engaged, and they're just using their whole body as a shield, right? They actually have their body squared, even though they're running in a curve. So it's kind of weird. Like Micah actually, and this is one thing I really like that Micah does with his players, and a really technical detail is he'll have players basically dribbling in a curve, and he always talks about the inside step. And I'm really seeing it right now with this player. Like his inside step is not good. when he does the inside step, it's out of a narrow stance.
Okay.
But you can't actually accelerate past somebody if you don't get around their feet.
So
you have to be wide. You have to be comfortable getting that inside step with a wider stance. And so that was the biggest thing I noticed with him. And I was like, okay, what we got to focus on is the tech. I kind of briefly explained the coactive model that I use. And I was like, bro, we got to focus on the technical and the physical, right? The technical being able to use some deception in the beginning so you make your life easier. And then also where exactly you position your feet, etc. And then the physical of, dude, like we just got to produce more force into the ground. Like, you're not going to be able to get by anybody if you don't produce more force. Like at the higher levels, it's force, bro. And again, like on your drives, like you're in a special case like Luka, for example. He's got so much damn fucking skill that he doesn't necessarily need to produce that much force in ground, like kind of ground, creating that much ground reaction force, right? How his feet are interacting with the ground. But what people don't even realize is, bro, like that motherfucker is so strong,
he's so dense
that it as long as he can just walk you down, and as long as he's shielding the ball, as long as you don't poke the ball away, eventually you're cooked. He's getting, before you know it, he's 3 feet away from the rim, and then he's fucking hitting you with a step through or whatever, fade away at worst case. So it's like, you got to get the physical qualities somewhere. You know what I mean?
Something. One of the physical qualities for sure.
Yeah. So I wonder if because I've been focusing a lot, like over the course of the summer, I was focusing a lot on tactics, but I'm realizing, we're in an area where, like, let's just be honest, the athletes aren't as good as they are in other areas of mass or, if people are playing at prep schools, like they're kids coming from fucking New York, fucking New Jersey, like, all over. And so we kind of we have a job of the two of us of like helping the players athletic. I think I want to shift my focus a little bit
for sure
and help the players athletically, because that's what like, granted, like you could argue it gives a competitive advantage, if we just go, we're going to lack a little bit in athleticism compared to players on average that come from New York or New Jersey or other players that come that play at prep schools, and we'll just go all in on the tactics. I'm wondering what you think about that. Like, how have you divvied up your time and energy in terms of helping players with tactics and the more technical aspects of the sport?
For the physical, like athletically, like I'm in the same boat for sure. Some kids, I have a couple kids that like can kind of go, they're quick, whatever, athletic, they're strong, they have like solid builds. But I have a lot of kids that are super underdeveloped. I have a kid, he's a sophomore now. He can shoot lights out, but he's super small and he's slow. So it's like you're skinny and you're slow.
Oh shit. We're leaving that in there, honestly.
That was wild. But yeah, it's like slow. So I always I tell him, I was like, I made a program for him just to like get stronger. Just like I always tell him to focus on like what he's eating too. I was like, you got to gain weight. You're like 5'1", 5'2", but you're like 90 pounds. Like you want to play, he got cut freshman year, and he's a really good shooter. He shouldn't have gotten cut from freshman. I think he could have made it no matter what, especially with like the talent that they took. But again, a lot of these coaches, they look for the build. Like they're gonna overlook you if you're a small guy. They just are. It's unfortunate, especially if you have like skill. And like if you have a good coach, they're gonna know how to place you if you have the skill to do something. Like he's a shooter. You're not gonna see this kid trying to come down and like dribble by anyone. Like he's not gonna do that. He knows it's not his role, and he knows what he's good at. So he's gonna keep it simple and like do what you ask him to do. Like he'll put the ball into the hoop behind the 3-point line. And that's it. Like that's what he knows. But I said, like, if you can get stronger and you can get more athletic, you will be able to take it to a next step. So I definitely push it on some kids. I think it's important. But like as far as like our sessions, I'll never like pull them away for a session or like do anything performance wise with them, just because it's not really my world. Like I know it decent, I'll make them a program, and if they do it, great. If they don't, I'll be on them about it. But I'm not going to try to like be like, okay, let's go into the weight room and do it. I'll do some stuff where like we'll do like a primer to focus on like getting your load step into the ground, really driving into the ground, so you can just think about like, again, that force coming off the ground, trying to go quick. For the most part, I just focus on like the skill stuff.
Yeah. You know what I thought of is like I've drawn a lot of inspiration from what Bobby Whyte does. He basically like gets we don't even need to take you off the court to improve your athleticism. Let's just actually apply constraints-led approach again to actually force you to fully express your athleticism in a variety of ways, but the skill is integrated.
Yeah,
so
no, he does a really good job.
We're checking off multiple, we're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone as opposed to just taking them out of the environment and doing like something. I don't even, hold on, quick aside, bro, like fucking box jumps are cool, like drop jumps, depth jumps, all that stuff. I just don't, when I do them personally, I don't feel like I'm getting like good stim. Like it takes me too long to set the damn thing up again, and like you know what I mean? I've just burned like a minute doing maybe 6 reps of approach box jumps or standing box or whatever, drop jump, depth jump, doesn't matter. Let's get cyclical with the plyo. I find that as long as pain is not limiting the players, I'll just do that with the players. And the same, I mean, you can apply the same thing on the court. I mean, on the court it's a little bit different because like you have to set up from certain spots to reset the drill and everything. But quick, kind of side.
No, I agree. I mean, I've been doing PJS program for like 9-10 months now on the Vertical Elite, and I don't remember, maybe 1 month.
Like phase 1, basically.
Yeah, phase 1. It's low level. Yeah. Like it's not, we're not going to like build athleticism. It's depth jumps, it's for your landing. You're trying to work on like landing technique, whatever, like maybe adding some weight. I would do like a lot of med ball tosses where we start elevated, drop, taking the impact from the ground, throwing it up. Yeah. But it's like everything for him, it's all moving with weight, multiple directions, a lot of single leg stuff, rear foot stuff, like eccentric stuff. I'm doing a deadlift into a 3-second hold off of 1 foot into like an RDL. And that's 1, and you have to do 4 on each side. So it's like a lot of it's single leg and just like explosiveness, moving. I don't know. I feel that. I don't really like doing box jumps. I never really. It was cool.
It just takes too much. It takes too much time.
Yeah,
it's just not efficient.
Yeah,
and I don't feel like I'm getting that much stim from it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Anyway, quick side note, but yeah, integrating like combining skill and physical prep.
Yeah. That's I've done it a little bit with Gabe. Like take off from here. You got to finish at the rim. Like forcing him to just like hang time in the air, creating space in the air, manipulating your body, like going from one lane to the other, like lane line to the other lane line, attacking from like the corner and trying to jump and finish on the opposite side.
Yes.
That's all like physical. But I don't do it enough, especially with the kids that need it. I feel like I do it with the kids that can do it versus like challenging the kids that can't. So it's more like their constraints. I'm using that. Okay, this kid can do it. Let's do it. So now it's kind of like pulling away from what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're like the kid that didn't make the team that's really good. Like, I don't think I've ever done any like we've done some stuff, some challenging finishing ones where you have to really like create space in the air, move the ball, and then come back in and finish. We've done some, but like he struggles because he's just not there physically. But like there are regressions. You can always do something to make it somewhat easier, but still challenge him enough. I don't do it enough with the kids that need it. For sure. So I got to start doing that more.
So this again, the like kind of full circle with challenge point frame. Right? I want to bring that back into the conversation because again, learning's about information.
Yeah.
If I think like a really good tell for a player not like picking shit up. You don't see it's not really clicking up here.
Yeah.
About how to actually move forward.
Yeah.
Again, it might take them fucking 20, I don't know how many reps. But as long as we're making baby steps, you gotta see it. And then at a certain point we're gonna hit like a threshold where it just spikes up.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
That's what often happens.
Yeah.
But if they just keep using, because if you apply the constraints-led approach, I think it was good to. So again, we're going to preface another thing, and I swear to God, if I do that shit again,
shit.
Preface this again, right? We established like what Rob Gray was talking about with regard to how to actually apply constraints-led approach.
Yeah.
It's not about expecting one very specific strategy. It's about restricting strategies that aren't serving them well, so that they can get towards strategies that actually are more effective.
Yeah.
Right. But you're still leaving them multiple options.
Yeah.
And so with challenge point framework, if the player just keeps using the same strategy over and over and over and over again, they're not changing anything up. Of course, part of your job as a coach is to be like, explore. Like, you have multiple options. I want you to get a little creative if you don't get it at first.
Don't do that anymore.
And preface it, but don't say it as they're doing the reps, because then they're learning. We're maximizing the implicit learning, which sticks better in theory. But if they just keep hammering the same shit that's clearly not fucking working, that's a sign. Okay, it's too hard. Because then they're not actually, they don't know how to interpret the information. So they're getting information, but it's too much. So there's a balance of information. That's what challenge point framework is all about. Balance of information. Too little, we're not learning enough. Too much, they're overwhelmed. They don't know how to interpret what's coming in. So they just keep doing the same thing because they don't know, oh, maybe this alternative will work. But they don't know because they don't know how to interpret.
That's interesting.
So bro, like, fundamentally that's what training is, bro.
You have to have the balance, because you can't make something too hard and then it's gonna, like, they're not gonna want to do it, and like you said, they're gonna keep doing the same solution. And you want it to invite other things, what you're doing, and then it's like, even that, like, it's good. It might invite a new solution. Whatever, say the kid's jumping from the first hash, you got to have him finish at the rim, opposite side, whatever it is. The kid might come up with new solutions, and he might recognize that he has to be more athletic. So it might force them and kind of guide them into the weight room. So, like, you kind of get two things out of it, because then the kid will be like, oh shit, I really do need this. Like, I can see how if I just did this in the weight room and worked on my athleticism, it actually might help me out on the basketball court. So you got to kind of force them into situations to make them recognize what they really need outside of basketball. Because a lot of kids you won't want to tell them directly, because it's like, oh no, I don't need that. It's like, okay, let me just show you that you need it. And then you put them into a situation where it's like, oh shit, like, I need that. Like, I trained a kid, he's not super strong. I've been training him for a while. I'm like, bro, just go lift. I'm not asking you to lift every day. Just, like, get some basic strength.
Twice a week.
Twice a week, full body days.
That's what I'm asking Least to. I told you about the Newton South kid, bro. He doesn't lift at all. Gamer, like, likes playing hoop. I get it. I was the same way when I was in high school. I can't have an expectation that he's gonna just turn into a meathead. You know, like that. That's not good. I don't even want that. Right?
Exactly.
But it's like 2 days. Like, back to our behavioral science principles. Meet them where they're at.
Exactly.
2 days a week. And I love what you said about you're getting them. We talk about we just talked about implicit learning. Usually when we mention implicit learning, we're talking about learning, like motor learning. But what you just mentioned was really interesting. You said, like, I want to show them implicitly what else there is out there not by telling them explicitly you need to do this, because what does every other fucking coach do?
They always
do this, the lecturing,
and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. But if you can show them without saying anything, then they're like, oh shit, wow. Like, there's a kid, AJ, been training him forever, made a ton of progress, like crazy, and I'm like, you need to get stronger, like, but I didn't start with that. I started with, like, okay, we do a lot of contact stuff, I play super physical. And he's like, oh, you're much stronger than me. I was like, okay, what does that say, though? I was like, I'm not giving you my full output. I'm not going to, like, throw you across the room. I'm not trying to throw you across the gym. But I was like, I'm trying to show you that you need something else other than just, like, okay, let's go to the gym and work out today. And he's like, oh, shit. We started doing sessions. We started doing weight room sessions. And he's like, damn, like, even just, like, a couple weeks, he's like, yeah, I feel a lot better. And now he's trying to do it on his own. He has, like, kind of like a weight room at home. And he's like, yeah, I've been working out at home more. I'm like, good. I was like, you have 3 months. This was whatever, a couple weeks ago. I was like, you have like 2 or 3 months. It's like, you can make a huge change by that time. When your like tryouts come up. I was like, it's the Monday after Thanksgiving for every public school. You go to a public school, like, that's the date. You got to be ready physically, and obviously, like, we're not going to pull away from the basketball stuff. But if you can just focus on that on your own, you'll be golden. You'll be good. So he noticed it though, like on his own, and he's like, oh shit. And then when he's playing against kids, like, basketball strength and just strength, like weight room strength, so much different. Like, there's a kid that he doesn't work out with, his buddy from Weston. He's going to Rivers now. He's super solid. And he's like, Drew Carlson. Okay. He's a sophomore. But he's athletic. He's not freakishly athletic. But, like, when you see him play, no matter the size of the kid on defense, he holds his own. And it's like, that's just basketball strength. That's understanding how to use his body just from, like, live reps against kids all sizes. And I was like, for the kid AJ, I'm like, you can't expect to play like that because he's playing at a higher level. So he's playing with kids that work out, whether he does or not. He's playing with it, so he has to adjust whether he's lifting or not. Like, he has to figure it out. Otherwise, he's not going to succeed. He's just not. I was like, yeah, he's a shooter, but he finishes at the rim. He can get to the rim. I was like, you have to be able to hold your own against players like that. And if what you're doing on the court isn't working, then, like, you have to figure out another solution working out. Like, basic strength. Push-ups, pull-ups, dips. Like, I'm not asking you to go throw up weight on the bench. Do some dumbbell exercises. At least get fundamental strength, be able to move. Because then once you put both together between that and just, like, knowing what you can do on the court, like, you're going to feel so much more comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, even for me, I stopped playing basketball for a while and really pushed working out. When I went back to playing, I was like, holy shit. I was like, it's so much easier because you don't get bumped as much. Mm-hmm. And I'm a quicker guard. I like going to the rim. I like getting hit. So once I started doing that after gaining strength, I was like, this is like a whole different world.
100%.
I was like, this is completely different for me.
So what comes to mind is, so like we understand simple strength training in theory, and this is another reason why I like Bobby. You know, some people are going to shit on Bobby. They're saying, this guy doesn't actually know that much about strength and conditioning. But, like, he's giving his players a solution that actually is super effective. Yeah. And because they already come to him and they're in the environment, what are they going to do? Pussy out and not do it? Yeah. Like, but there is something to be said about, like, the players are not, especially as we get closer to the season, players we work with have AAU school and other obligations. They're not going to be with us all the time. Yeah. And so, you know, what I always think about is, again, how do we meet the players where they're at? Is the simple strength training going to be something they want to do consistently? Yeah. And at the volume that we want to actually get adaptation. Adaptation theory, we need to apply stimulus to the body that forces it to adapt, right? It has to have a reason. And so this is something that I always think about, and I try to use principles from Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read that.
I have it in the car. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, so actually, so this will be good because you will be able to speak the same language. So I try to apply those principles into like strength training from my basketball players. Yeah. How can we make this a not just easy, obvious, attractive, but satisfying, so they want to come back. Yeah. That's the loop. Yeah, right. The loop. Yeah. And so, put standard push-up, fucking inverted row, fucking that won't do it for some. For some players that won't do it. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I will be able to bounce ideas right now because I'm not going to act like I have all the answers. Yeah, like for sure. How would you creatively, you know? So keeping in mind the principles from Atomic Habits. There's also, I listen to Just Fly's podcast sometimes.
I don't know if that is.
What's his face? Joel Smith.
Okay.
Track coach.
Yeah.
Right? You've seen his Instagram before?
Yeah.
He's pretty big.
Yeah. I gotta follow him. I don't think I follow him.
Bro, his podcast is great. For all the physical stuff, like anything related to physical prep, like that. It's one of the best podcasts, arguably the best. Yeah, because Rob Gray talks about motor learning. Like he'll throw some of this shit in there, but Joel is like the guy for all this stuff. Anyway, he had a guest on named Michael Zweifel. He apparently he's like a brand name like in strength and conditioning. I guess he's not that big on social media. That's what he just doesn't post. He's not that active. He's not. I'd probably be able to find like his Twitter or something, but I don't think I've come across his Instagram. Anyway. He coaches in football. He was doing player development for football players for a while, and then he was like, let me put my money where my mouth is and get in a team setting and apply ecological dynamics principles. And he was talking about this idea of competitive advantages. Inherently, if everybody does the exact same shit, imagine everybody does the exact same shit, who's gonna outdo everybody else? The most talented, the most genetically gifted. Yeah. Because genes exist, bro. Yeah. Let's not act like they don't. So,
for sure.
What he said is, I'm tired of college strength and conditioning coaches doing the same fucking programs with their D1 athletes in football. Yeah. Squat with a barbell. We're not getting a competitive advantage this way because we're just doing the same shit that the SEC teams are doing. Yeah. Fucking the South Carolinas of the world. I don't know who the best teams are. Auburn, whatever. Yeah. So he's like, dude, let's apply ecological dynamics. Let's get them fucking interacting with one another. Let's use some resistance from each other, some grappling concepts, some fucking, I don't know, I'm just giving an example. But so there's there's two elements to just saying, to just telling your players, go do the simple strength training.
Yeah.
When we know they're not going to be with us most of the time.
Yeah.
One is the behavioral science principles from Atomic Habits. How do we actually put this shit into practice? But then the other one is, I don't even necessarily want them to just do a standard push-up, this and that, for that long. Maybe they throw it in there.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do it on a fairly consistent basis, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Because we're not getting a competitive advantage. Everybody's doing the same. Like all the players from fucking whatever, like I don't know. Basically, AAA knapsack players, they're doing that shit.
Yeah. But it's, if they enjoy it though, you can let them do it. True. So, but
you have to have a conversation. But most of the time, it's not that way.
They
Let's
don't,
just be
for
honest.
sure. But like,
what's your angle on this?
Yeah, I like what you said, because there's this kid that I've been training for a while. He's trying to like work out more, and if I told him to do basic strength stuff for like leg days, if I said, hey, let's just do some squats, do some deadlifts, whatever, hamstring curls, regular exercises, I know he wouldn't do it. There's just no way he would do it. But I introduced.
How'd you wait? What kid is it? Where
he goes to Exeter. He's a senior. He's just a super smart kid. We've been training for a while.
Okay.
What
class is Exeter? Like knapsack? Is it prep school?
Yeah, I don't know what they're in.
It must be like A or something.
They're up there.
Phillips Exeter, right?
Yeah, Phillips Exeter.
Yeah, I think it's A or double A.
Yeah. But anyway, he's probably not going to play.
Okay.
But he loves basketball. Yeah. And he's a super smart kid. But he would never work out. Like, would not, no matter what. But it was like, okay, we got to find what you like. I showed him I introduced PJF to him. Bro, he loves it. And he actually tries to do it. He puts it in the schedule because he enjoys what he's doing. So it's like, and I know there's definitely exercises on there that he's like, I'm not going to do this. I know what kind of kid he is. So he skips it. But if you can find like a program that works, that kids like, then they're going to be inclined to doing it more. Like, I'll only say do something if I know they can do it and they like doing it. Because like I wrote up a program for the kid Owen, smaller kid. And I was like, do this stuff, but if you don't like it, just change it. I was like, but now at least you have a platform, you have a base that you can build off of, because he didn't really have any knowledge. So it's like, okay, instead of a chest press, you could just search up chest press variations, like different ones. And multiple things will come up, whatever. Then you try things and you throw them in. But now he's like working out with friends, and he's probably figured out like a routine that he likes and like something that's working. But I made sure to tell him, I was like, you got to change it though. Because like, I don't know how you're working out. I haven't seen him lift. It's like, one, if you're comfortable with what you're doing, the weight, you got to go up at least. And I was like, if you've been doing the workout for a while and it's just like you're going up there and you're just like cranking through it, you got to switch it. You got to like shock your body. Because I can tell. I was like, you've probably gotten stronger. I don't know if he's gained much weight. He's like, I haven't really weighed myself. I asked him. But I was like, you have to shock your body and you have to push the weight. And you got to do it with things that you like. Like he's fallen in love with working out. Like he's like, oh yeah, I have to lift today. Like money. So you figured it out. But it's like, okay, now taking the next step, like actually getting stronger, actually shocking your body, actually gaining size, making sure he's eating properly and enough. And it's like, again, getting them to be satisfied with what they're doing. It worked. Now he's at that point. Mm-hmm. But now you got to just like, once you kind of get into that like routine of lifting, not so much like the lifts, just like having it in your schedule. Like for me, I put it in my schedule and it's like, I've been doing it for 10 months. I won't miss a day. Yeah. It's impossible. No matter what, even if I don't want to do it, it's like, fuck, I've done it for 9-10 months consistently. I cannot miss it. Yeah. It's just part of my day.
And no matter what, the time blocks. So you look like an idiot if you put it in the schedule and then you don't fucking do it.
You're like, what the fuck? And then you got to move it, and you're like, bro, now I just feel like an idiot. You're still doing it. You're just doing it at a different time. You're just like, all right, I might as well just keep it here. So that's what he does, and he's like starting to like it. But it's like taking that next step. But if you can get everyone to that point where they like enjoy it, because that's like with the sessions. What I said at the very beginning, I was like, bro, I remember going to practice and I would dread the shit. Yeah. I'm like, bro, I know what we're gonna do. I don't want to go do 5-on-0. Like, I'd rather just go to LA Fitness and play pickup all day. Like, it's way more fun. It's like, how can you keep these kids engaged? Like, Serrano was mentioning it in the book. Literally, like, defender in front of you, changing directions without live defense. You're just standing there. Bro, we fucking do this shit as a warm-up. And I'm like, I'm standing there and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
So hold on. I know people, anybody that listens to this, they're going to be like, or at least, you know, I know there's a group of people out there that are going to listen to this and say, well, what it, like doesn't what like separate the great players from the not so good players? I'm sure you've seen this on social media before, where people are like, isn't like the great players, they do the shit that nobody else wants to do? Like, what do you have to, because I actually so I want to hear what you say first, but I think there's like there's definitely there's nuanced answers to fucking everything. Right?
Yeah.
But like that specifically, like there is nuance. I'm not just gonna say, oh, you guys are stupid for bringing that question up. But like, what do you think about that?
Like, all right, one, it's not so much like doing the things that other people don't want to do. That's how you get great. It's the discipline. Like, that's what makes you great. It's not because they're doing something special. It's like they're committed to doing it, no matter what. Mm-hmm. They are the 1%, 0.0001% of people. Like, that's what I always tell kids. It's like, okay, you're not going to be good because you're doing a special drill. It's like, at least be consistent. You know what I mean? Like, you need, there are ways to manipulate the drills and make them better. But if you're not disciplined and you can't just show up, you're not going to be the 1%. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I talk to people the parents of the kids that I train all the time because they're all successful. And they all say the same thing. I don't remember my 20s. I don't remember my 30s. So what the fuck does that mean? I worked. I was disciplined. Like, that's it. That's what it comes down to. How much are you willing to put in? And then once you get to the point where that's consistent, then it's like, okay, let's change the drills. But it's not, oh, well, they're doing what other people don't want to do. Well, other people don't even want to do it at all. Fuck what the drill is. They just don't want to do it.
Yeah, like, that's the caveat.
Take a kid and have him do, oh, shit.
Bro. Sorry, guys.
Keep fucking up. But yeah, like, bro, get a kid to work out like 26 days out of the month. 1 day off. See if he can do that for whatever, 3 months. He can't.
We're not speaking in
I'm not even saying the drills.
The question is not speaking in practicality. For most people, you got to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
So it's going to work that the whole, do what other people don't want to do, and you're going to get to a different level. It's going to work for the people that are in that. Not to say that you can't improve discipline, and that's kind of actually, this is a pretty philosophical conversation. I might not be making that much sense as I'm speaking, to be honest. You know, smart people out there are going to be able to challenge my current viewpoints. But to an extent, right, like artificially making all this shit as enjoyable as possible for the players, like as dopaminergic as possible, as satisfying as possible, because we already mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's kind of at odds. Don't you think, like, logically speaking, it's at odds with the player's ability to improve their discipline?
Yes, for sure.
Discipline is something that can be improved.
That's the most important. Like, to get them to be disciplined, you have to make them enjoy it. Like, they have to enjoy it. And there are different ways. Like, it doesn't have to be like, okay, you got to do 6 days a week. There's no number. Because, like you said, like, you can get better. Some kids might get better after 2 days. Like, it might just click. Some kids, I've had kids that can get through stuff so fast and just, like, pick things up and learn so quickly. And they progress at a different rate than somebody else.
Well, let's think about this, though. So, like, if you make it as enjoyable as possible for the player, right? I think we've defined discipline as the ability to do something despite you not wanting to do it, right?
Yeah.
If something is enjoyable, they do want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is we're on like, generally speaking, we're trying to maximize enjoyment. And what does that do in turn? Since we've already defined what we're trying to do and what discipline is, that lowers the bar for discipline.
Yeah.
So as you could argue as an adaptation, they're gonna be resistant to times in their life where they're gonna have to use discipline because they've gotten into the habit of just doing things that they always enjoy. So there's a what do you think about that? There's a balance. You know, most of the shit we're gonna do, we're gonna try to maximize the enjoyment, right?
I mean, so failing and enjoyment, like, they're different. You can enjoy something, but if you're failing, it takes discipline to still do it. You know what I mean? Like, I can get a kid to enjoy a drill, but they might not succeed. but they love it. They like doing it a certain way. They like being challenged. But it's like it's going to take the discipline to keep failing to succeed. You know what I mean? Because they kind of like all go together. Like it sucks. Like I'll have kids that love doing sessions with me, but it's like they fucking hate it at the same time because it's like, fuck, I know I'm going to go in, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to be challenged, but I'm going to have to stay locked in and I'm going to have to keep doing it and figuring it out over and over and over again. But they enjoy that. So they almost enjoy failing because they know what it's going to lead to. And I think that's where like the discipline comes in, because that's where you're like, okay, you're not really doing what you like, but you enjoy what we're doing, but you don't enjoy like the results because you're making mistakes. You're constantly making mistakes. But then it's like, okay, then it circles back. Okay, when I get into the game, now I might get some, like, all right, I might play better. It might translate a little bit better. So that's like the satisfaction. You enjoy the workout. You don't really enjoy failing. Like it kind of sucks. You know what I mean? But it's hard. Like it's hard to.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's.
This also is reminding me about. I mentioned to you, I'm deep into The Power of Now.
I
got through the first 100 pages and I was like, bro, I gotta go back. Like this shit. Like it didn't go through one year, not the other. But I'm not fully. This just seems too golden.
Yeah.
This is like Bible level.
Yeah.
I can't make this shit up.
Crazy.
If you haven't gotten into it yet,
I have.
And anybody fucking listening to this, bro, read The Power of Now. Holy shit, it's life-changing. The people that don't understand, I don't know what to tell you, or the people that will never get it, you don't have to get it, I guess. It's fine. You can leave it for the people that do get it. Expectations, right? Like, because we kind of already mentioned that. What is failure? And Kobe has talked about a lot about this. He actually has a point that failure doesn't exist. It's something the mind. It's something the mind makes up.
Yeah.
And it's funny in The Power of Now, he doesn't specifically talk about failure. He talks about just pain. And I'm sure he would Eckhart Tolle, the I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but he would categorize failure as a type of pain. He just puts any negative emotion as pain because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's suffering.
For sure.
It's pain.
Yeah.
And it makes it very easy. It makes it easier to understand. How that manifests in your own life because he's giving more concrete examples. But I'm kind of got sidetracked. But that was, I guess, some helpful context. But when you have an expectation, and this is kind of I mentioned the coactives too. We're kind of dipping into the psychological side of the game because I've tried to get more scientific with my players with that too. Because what does the average coach fucking tell a player? Oh, to get more confident, you just need to get more reps up, bro. Like, that's
just shoot more. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, we know that's one way to get more confident, but how is it that we have so many gym rats that are worse than people that don't train at all? They just show up to the game and they do better.
That was me.
How is that possible? How could it only be about reps?
Yeah.
Right?
I was in the gym too much. Like, you could ask anyone that I grew up with. That's all I did. I didn't go out. I literally, if you were my friend, it's because I met you at the gym. That's it. I swear to God. Bro, I had maybe one good season, AAU, and it wasn't even that good. It was just better than the other ones. And I remember the coach. He moved from North Carolina. I don't know where he's at now. Bro, he just let us do whatever. There's just no restrictions. Practices went smooth. Like, we played a lot. He wasn't stopping us on some bullshit saying, oh, you just fucking turned the ball over. Let's do 30 suicides. It's like, okay, he just let us figure it out. And, bro, that was the best season I've ever had because I played
This was what year?
My junior year.
Okay.
And I played with a friend, too. And it was the first time
Where'd you go to high school?
Bro, I went to 4 high schools. Okay. So I went to Framingham, Ashland, and then I went to Marion, and then I went to Natick my senior year.
Got it.
But I never had confidence, ever. And that was like one season that I did because of the freedom that he gave us. And I played with one of my friends. He was, like, on my team. So, like, he kind of knew we worked out together all the time. So he was always like, yo, like, fucking shoot, drive. Like, he'd say it to me in the game, and it would, like, help. It started registering. But it's like, it's not just a reps thing.
Yeah.
It's really not because it's like.
It can't be.
I've done it. I've worked out, and this is why I train the way I do now. The way I used to train was horrible. So it wasn't the reps. It wasn't just putting up the reps. And it also wasn't like the way that I was training. You know what I mean? Like I had to switch the training, but it wasn't even just the reps. It wasn't just like, oh, go put up more reps, go do this, go do that. There's just so much that went into it.
Yeah, totally.
It wasn't like, oh, I changed my training style, so that's why I got better. Because I didn't change my training style when I started playing better. It was literally like psychological. It was the coach, my friend, being in the environment with me. You know what I mean? Just being like, okay, you almost have the green light. Once I got that, it just like kind of clicked. But as soon as you have that one coach, this is why it's so important to have a coach that knows how to talk with their players, whether it's coach, player development, you're a trainer, whatever it is. Because I think I talk to every single kid in my sessions differently. Like, it's just completely different. Like, it's not even comparable.
Totally.
Because it's like kids respond a different way. Like, I have some kids that just like have bad attitudes. They just like, they're super comfortable with me. They feel like we're close. So if I say the wrong thing and I trigger them, I know the session's gonna be shit.
Interesting. I would think you might be able to troll them and up the ante.
So it's tough with some though. Like I do with some, and then some
because then like, then you let their guard. They get their guard down.
Yeah.
They realize you're obviously trolling.
Yeah,
and they're like, the fuck?
Yeah, so it's
now that makes them more self-aware about what they're doing.
Yeah,
they have a shitty attitude and they need to get the fuck.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying? Like they need to get rid of that shit.
Yeah,
like,
it's so weird though with each kid. It's so different. You know what I mean? Like it's fun though because you get
that's the art.
Yeah. So
for sure.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but so what was I?
Confidence.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So the power. So this is so crazy, bro. I don't like I think expectation needs to fucking, I don't know about die, but I hate when that word does not sit right with me.
Yeah.
Because, and the dots are connecting like I've never had them connected before after reading the fucking book. He doesn't mention expectations. But I'm using the principles he's talking about, and then I'm realizing after you were talking about you mentioned that word, and I was like, bro, when you what is being present, right? That's the premise of the whole book, is about how to be as present as possible. What is it? It's not thinking about the past or the future, right? It's not those two.
Yeah.
It's being here, where your feet are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have an expectation, inherently, you're thinking in terms of the future.
Yeah.
It's illusory. It doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't like that word. I'm very particular.
Yeah.
A goal is fine. Say goal if you want to.
Yeah.
As soon as we start saying expectation, okay, now what happens if you don't hit it?
Yeah.
You've like made the fact that you didn't hit the expectation a part of your identity, and that's where I see people getting down on themselves the most.
Yeah.
Do you not like? Is
100%,
this not?
Yeah.
Bro, it's fucking nuts. After I got through 70 pages again, dude.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Past and future are we got too much thinking in the past and the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do the same thing. So I see how that
we're terrible at it as a species.
Yeah, no, horrible.
And he's like, this is gonna lead to our demise. And I think maybe that's taking things a little too far because like we're gonna keep fucking procreating, and as long as a meteor doesn't fucking hit Earth or whatever, like we'll be or global, whatever, climate change. But seriously, the mind can be destructive.
It's crazy because even like it's not a goal, because a goal, like, if you don't reach it, you can keep going. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna set a different one that's right under. Okay, I want to whatever success, be better at basketball. There's so many different ways to hit a goal, and you can just keep pushing towards it. But when you expect something to happen, like I've done it myself with just like trying to be successful, like you get pissed. Like I've gone through like waves. And I'm fucking angry. Like, I'm pissed off. Because it's like, okay, I didn't do it. I knew I was supposed to do it. I expected myself to do it. But if it's like, it's a goal, it's like, okay, like, it's more optimistic. You feel better about the situation. You're accepting it more. It's weird because it's like,
let's define the words. Expectation. I'm so tempted to just fucking look this up on Google right now, honestly. Yeah. Because when you actually, and you can pull up your phone and honestly look this up because I'm curious. Yeah. Like, do it right now. I want this for the podcast, seriously. I want you to read the definition of expectation, because when you look up the definitions of words, from the source, from fucking Google, you learn so much more about this is what is this called? There's like there's a branch in science that talks about that. Anyway, whatever. Read out the definition.
A strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future.
Strong belief that something will happen.
Yeah. Will. Yeah.
It's you are like shooting yourself in the foot, especially because what people are gonna have, and I have to change I've maybe used this verbiage before on my Instagram page, and I'm sorry if I've done this, because I'm realizing now it's setting players up for fucking it's maybe not failure, but it's making players not what is it? We're ridding players of an enlightened state. Yeah. A different level of consciousnness.
Yep.
Living in the present moment. That's what this book talks about. I'm just realizing it now, so I apologize if I ever use that verbiage, because it's not a healthy way to think about fucking improvement in the sport.
Yeah.
Life in general.
No, it's not.
This is deeper than fucking life,
for sure.
But
if you expect something out of someone, like as a coach, and I see this too, like when I went to Natick, I worked hard. I did well. Like, I met the coach before. I did he had like a skill session. We played a little bit. He had expectations for me to like do well. But I told him, I was like, he expected me to do well, even though I said
what does that even, and I assume he didn't even define what doing well is.
And I told him, I was like, hey, like, I struggle with confidence. Yeah. Like, I was like, I haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, I told him at that point, it was my senior year, so I said, like, hey, I've had like one good season, but like, I had a season after that, and I didn't do well. I was like, I haven't figured it out. But he expected me to do well because he saw me play, and like in a workout, I was always like the best guy because I worked out all the time. So it's like, oh shit, this kid's gonna be good. As soon as I didn't meet his expectations, like once I got a chance to play, it was done. Like, I didn't get to play much after that. Like, my confidence dropped even more. I felt like I failed. I was like, fuck, this is it. Like, and sure enough, it was one of the worst seasons that I had. Not because like of him, whatever, I'm not going to blame him, but because of what I did to myself and the way I responded to what he wanted from me and what I put out, because I knew I wasn't going to do it. So I already thought I wasn't going to do well, but I was like, okay. I was hoping like, okay, he understands. He said like, he knows I don't have great confidence. He expects me to like figure it out, get confidence, play well. He's going to give me a chance. Shut down. And it's like, fuck, but it's the expectation because he saw me do something and I looked good, regardless of what I said. And he didn't know how to like, okay, let's figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, let's try to like figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And I can't blame him. I'm a senior on a team that I've never played with before at a high school. Like, I took somebody's spot. I probably shouldn't have even made the team. I'm a senior at a new school. Like, that's fucking tough. Like, there were kids under me that maybe, I was more skilled, whatever, but if they were on the team, they probably would have benefited more from playing with the kids that they were going to play with the next year than me taking somebody's spot just for a season. And it's not like, oh, we had a ton of potential. Like, they were still, like, trying to figure it out. They weren't a really successful team. So it's like I kind of took somebody's spot for almost no reason. Like, it'd be one thing if he did it specifically to develop me and, like, figure it out. Get me to the next step.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's not what it was at all. It took me back even further.
He was using the past ineffectively.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And like in the book, like he talks about like you're gonna think in the past and the future sometimes. Yeah. It's not realistic to never do that.
Yep.
But you do it when it essentially allows you to use the present moment more effectively.
Yeah.
Like, use the past to learn from mistakes so you can do better in the present, which is the only thing you can fucking control.
Yeah.
And in future, honestly, this whole idea of like having it, like, you know, imagining things will happen in the future. Right? It's all you know, you can, and we can go down a million rabbit holes. And as I'm mentioning this, this begs the question. Well, what are you saying the idea of manifestation is not a helpful concept to use? I'm not saying you can't visualize success in the future.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't use visualization. All I'm saying is the way that people think in terms of the future most of the time is negative.
Yeah.
They're telling themselves bad stories.
It's funny you say that because I'm all about manifesting, in a way. But everything that I think of is positive. Everything. Because I refuse to have anyone negative in my friend group. Because it doesn't work with me today. Never mind what I'm going to be going through and doing in the future. So I'm still thinking about how I am, the steps that I'm taking today. I'm not thinking too far ahead. I'm just going with the flow. But if I'm around somebody negative, I know that it's going to bring me down. For the future, for now, I try to think of what I want in the future, but I'm never thinking about, it's always a goal. It's never okay, I need this. It's this is my goal. If I don't get it, I'm gonna get it somewhere else.
Yeah, and then importantly, you set the goal, but then you don't fixate on the goal. It's already there. It's already out there. You've already put it on paper. You've already fucking sunk in. Now you're just okay. How do I actually? He talks about in Atomic Habits. Everybody has fucking goals. Successful people and the successful people. That doesn't separate the successful.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. You could think about the shit as much as you want. What are you doing right now to make it happen? It doesn't. You could. Oh, you want a fleet of jets? Okay, cool. You woke up at 11 a.m. What the fuck do you mean you want to be successful? You don't want to be fucking successful. You woke up at 11 a.m. I've already lifted. I've already read. I've ate. I mean, bro, come on.
Yeah.
There are people that will do anything for it. Going back to, the kids' parents. They don't remember their 20s or 30s. They were just grinding. And it's not, they weren't oh, shit, I'm going to have 2 kids in 10 years. I need to grind. No, they're I'm in debt right now. I went to law school. I'm in debt. I need to fucking hustle. I need to make money. It's okay, let's put my head down and just work. Let's just do it. And they're not oh, I'm in debt. It's going to take forever. It's no, I'm in debt and I'm going to find success because I'm going to put my fucking head down and I'm going to get there. And I'm going to be way beyond where I am right now. I'm going to pay off my loans and whatever's after that is after that.
They realize the power of now.
Yeah.
Even if they haven't read the book, they're doing what he's.
They're
putting one foot in front of the other. They are where their feet are.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah. And that dude is multimillionaire. He's probably worth damn near 9 figures. I wouldn't be surprised if he has. Super successful.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked him. I was like, "Did you ever think you were going to be this successful?" So I had no idea. You don't.
Yeah. Isn't that great? But again, that comes back to the principle that we were talking about, future.
Yeah.
With future and how it's illusory.
If
you ask him, did you think this was going to happen? He said, I don't know, because he never thought about.
Did you think you were going to? Yeah.
It might have crossed his mind once, or once in a blue moon, it fucking crosses his mind.
But he was focused more on what he was doing.
Yeah.
Where he was at, just making the step in the right direction towards having his goal. Okay, financial freedom. Okay, but it's not I need to have 50 million.
That's so good. It's the same way, bro. It's the same. I know.
I struggle with it though. Yeah. I have that number. That's what I do.
I'm trying to follow you with this story, but just so many analogies come to mind.
Yeah,
it's when a player is, you ask a player that's expert performer, right? They're really elite shooter.
Yeah.
You ask them, hey, how did you do that? They'll make a ridiculous shot. They're how, you ask them, how'd you, or they'll do it multiple times.
Yeah.
In multiple different situations. And you're how did you do that shit? And most of the time, what do they answer? They're I don't know.
Yeah.
I just fucking shot the ball.
I did it. Yeah. It's not oh, well, no, they just, bro, do it. Yeah. It's so natural. It's just they're not oh, well, 2 years ago I thought about, no, bro, it just happened.
Yeah.
It's even with me, this is a good example. I'll play pickup with my friend, and I always do some wild fucking finish somehow. My friend's bro, that was fucking crazy. How did you do it? It's bro, I just threw that shit up. I didn't even think it was going in.
Yeah.
That's just the response. Bro, you don't. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You never know. Like, you have to have goals for sure. But I like how you said it. The expectations. It's different.
Expectations. I'm so happy I honestly didn't, because I'm big on journaling, and I didn't do an entry on this specifically. But if I were to journal like sometime today, if we didn't do this episode, I probably would have. I would have ended up going down some kind of rabbit hole or probing and getting to that. I don't know. Maybe not, because we started talking about basketball.
Yeah, it's fucking.
And then we connected the dots, and I'm so happy we just talked about that. And I hope this is useful for everybody listening. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you guys in a future episode with Kyle. Hopefully, we'll definitely do another one.
We got to do another one for sure.
You guys will probably see us in content too in the near future. And Kyle and I will be probably working on a bunch of different things together too. And yeah.
Talk soon.
Until next time.
Yes, sir.